Hey, it's Alex with Lover Fighter Writer, and in this video, I'm going to give you my 3 top tips for image SEO. Now, SEO, of course, stands for search engine optimization, and what some people don't realize about images is that images have their own sort of SEO rules and best practices, and images can have a lot of impact on both how well a web page loads and also how much traffic it gets from search engines. Because not only can images that are properly optimized help you rank in organic search results, they can also rank on their own in image search results. For example, if you do a Google search and then you go to the images tab, your images can show up there if you have them well optimized, and that can lead to additional traffic or just brand exposure. So if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel, leave me a like. And you might notice that there's a URL at the top of the video. It is lovefightwrite.com/PLRME. And if you go to that URL, you can get some free PLR just by signing up for a free account, compliments of PLRME. All right, now we're going to talk about 3 things related to these 3 tips, which are magnification and resizing, image compression and formats, and image metadata. So one of the biggest mistakes that beginner web designers and SEOs tend to make is not ensuring that they resize their images to make them an appropriate size. Now, some images that you may use might just already be a good size, but in most cases, they may be too big or too small. So for an example of an image being too big, when you go to most stock image websites like this is Jump Story. It's one of the stock image websites that I use. And you can see this image right here is 8,000 by 8,000 pixels, which is way too big. That's going to be a huge image size. And you can see it actually provides a web-friendly size download, which is 720 by 720 pixels. And that's a pretty good size, but depending on how you're planning on using it, you might want it to be bigger than that. And so you would need to download the bigger size and then scale it down to the size that you want it to be. And this is just for like an illustration graphic. A lot of photos that you might find in this type of website will be even bigger because cameras and phones have massive resolutions when they take pictures these days. And typically, they're going to put it on the website with the full resolution because they want the highest quality image possible to be available. So with this type of thing, you definitely need to scale it down. Now, on the other hand, an issue that you can run into with having images be too small is when you're taking screenshots. So if you do things like product review blog posts or anything else that involves taking screenshots, maybe you're taking screenshots of data, sometimes the text that you're taking a screenshot of is not big enough to get a really good quality screenshot. And so if you just take a screenshot of it like that, it's not really going to be big enough to show up nicely on your web page. It's going to end up being a low quality image. So what you want to do when you run into that is use your browser tools to temporarily magnify the web page before you take a screenshot of it. And so depending on the browser that you're using, the way of doing this might look a little bit different, but I'm in Chrome right now, so I'll just show you that. I can just go up here and click on these 3 dots and then go to zoom and hit the plus sign a couple times. And you can see this text is going to be much bigger. And then I can use my screenshot plugin to take a screenshot. And whatever I take a screenshot of now is going to be much bigger. And then would be about a good size for a screenshot, or I could make it even bigger. And then if I needed to scale it down, I could always do that after the fact. All right, now we're going to talk about image compression and formats. Now, there are a lot of different types of image files. Some very common ones are JPEGs, which can be .jpg or .jpeg. There are PNG files, which are .png. These are generally used for graphics that have a transparent background, so they can appear nicely on a web page. And there's also SVG, WebP, and a number of others. Now, there are advantages to using something like SVG and WebP for images online because they tend to compress a little bit better, which means they can take up less space on your website and they're going to load in faster. But personally, I use JPEGs for pretty much everything unless I specifically need it to have a transparent background, in which case I'll use either a PNG or an SVG. And the reason that I use JPEGs is that they're just a little bit easier to work with. There's a lot of tools that don't handle WebP well or don't handle it at all. And also for shareability. So for example, you can see that this header image I have here is something that someone might want to download and share on social media. And because it's a JPEG, they could do that. They could just download it and repost it on social media, and it has my branding right here. But if this was a WebP photo, I don't think that you can post those on most social media platforms. So it kind of reduces the inherent shareability of the image. Now, with regards to compressing images, that refers to reducing the file size of an image without necessarily reducing the image quality. So sometimes JPEGs and PNGs and even other types of images can be fairly big files, and you really don't want a huge file on a blog or website picture because that is going to make the page load time take a lot more. It might reduce the quality of the page load. So if you ever accessed a website and most of the page loads in right away, but then it takes like 5 seconds for an image to load in, that might be because of the size of the image. And so part of that is resizing the image, like I mentioned earlier, but also another part of that is losslessly compressing it. And so one really easy to use free tool that you can use to losslessly compress images is tinypng.com. So you can come to this page and you can upload images here. And if you upload one at a time, then you can just download the compressed version right away afterwards. And if you upload up to 20 at a time on the free version, then you can download them in a zip file and then unzip it and access the images like that. And a lot of graphic design tools actually have the ability to compress images built into them. So here we're looking at Photoshop, which is what I use for a lot of stuff. And if I go to File, Export, and Export As, this is how I export an image once I'm done working on it. And you can see that there's a quality slider right here. And then over here, it shows how big the image is. So this one is 40 kilobytes, which is very nice and small. And if I move the quality slider up to higher, then the image size is going to be much bigger. And if I move it back down, the image size is going to get smaller again. So obviously you don't want to use extremely low quality on most images, but if you can reduce the quality a little bit in order to get the size down, that can be very beneficial. And then once you export the image, you can just look at it. And as long as it visually doesn't look low quality, then it's probably going to be fine to use on your website. And now, last but not least, we're going to talk about image metadata. So metadata is the data, typically text data, which is attached to media online. So in this case, we're talking about an image metadata, which is information that is contained within the file where it lives online. And so right now, we're just in my WordPress dashboard here. But whichever content management system or blog or website building system you might use, it should have some sort of ability to edit the image metadata. And so when I upload a new image to WordPress like this, generally speaking, it will have the file URL, which is the location on my website where the image can be found. And it will have the title, which will be the same as the image file name that I uploaded. But the other three text areas, which are alternative text or alt text, caption, and description, will all be blank. And so caption is a WordPress specific field, although other content management systems may have a similar one. But caption is text that will appear below the image when it's embedded in a post, which is why I've left that blank, because I don't really want a caption appearing below this image. And alternative text or alt text and description serve a couple of purposes, but their primary purpose is to be available for people who use assisted browsing tools. So for example, if someone is blind or they have low vision and they're using a screen reader in order to help them, then when they hover over an image, it will tell them either the alternative text or the description, or possibly both, based on the software that they're using. So just in terms of providing a good website experience for anyone who's visiting your site, it's important to use alt text and description. And it can also be very valuable for SEO purposes because search engines also care about giving viewers a good experience. All right, those are my top 3 image SEO tips. I hope you found those helpful. Drop a comment if you have a question or if you'd like to request an upcoming video. Remember to subscribe and like. Check out the links in the description for some helpful stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.